Okay, what are the strategic orientations that exist for product, service, or idea towards the market? Well, the most famous grouping of strategic orientations is Porter's generic strategies, and it generally broke down the strategic approaches into 4 categories, really 3 categories, with one category being again subdivided. But first is cost leadership, that the product, service, or idea has something about it, something about the operational elements, or something about some level of protection it has that allows it to be the low cost provider. Now, don't think of the low cost provider as being the low cost to the customer. Think about it as it costs less for your business to deliver that value proposition to the customer. Something about your operations is cheaper. Okay, so you can create that, create and then transmit that same value or greater value at a lower cost to you. It allows for a higher profit margin, and ultimately it allows for the strategic option of being the low-cost provider to the customer as well. Okay, you can think of the example as Walmart. Walmart offers or generally the lowest prices towards a customer, but they're able to do so because they have a low cost advantage. They have the lowest cost supply chain out there. So that gives them a strategic advantage, and that is their approach. And then they were able to capture a large market share by delivering a low cost to the customer by passing that on. Not all businesses that have that low cost structure will pass it on. They'll simply capitalize on that higher profit margin, especially businesses that in some way have some market power, such as drug companies or things like that, or companies like that have some level of intellectual property protection that gives them a stated period of time to recoup value. When they have very few competitors, they can have a low production cost and still take advantage of that high profit margin by setting a higher price. Another strategy, or the second major strategy grouping, is differentiation. And differentiation is any orientation that sets your product or service apart from others based on any number of factors. How it's used, its attractiveness, its brand image, its convenience, its easy storage, its ease of use, its anything, any factor that you can think that would make a product better than others, or some attribute that you would attribute to that product, say a warranty, free services, things like that come with a product or service that give it some advantage over a similar product or service, and thereby that is differentiated and thereby gives it some level of advantage over the others. Now, differentiation may be copyable, or may be subject to imitation by the competitors or substitute products, or not. The purest forms of strategic advantage are going to be types of advantages that are very difficult to, or in some cases cannot legally be copied. Okay, so you evaluate these and say, what is it about my business that I can do differently than someone else, than another competitor or substitute product, that provides, again, that value proposition to the customer in a different way that is going to make that customer purchase my product versus another. Be careful with mixing strategies, trying to be, say, the lowest price to consumers and the highest quality. Generally, if market forces are in place, this is very, very difficult to do, and it can cause a lack of focus for a given brand or product. So in that way, understanding what it is about your product that you can differentiate in order to make it competitive in a field that, while may not currently have competitors, could or will have competitors in the future. And then the last strategic grouping is focus group or niche markets. That is, you're orienting your product or service towards a customer segment or target group that has not generally been addressed by the existing market players. The existing competitors in the market have largely overlooked this grouping for any number of reasons. Or it just has not been beneficial for them to address that market, and then you're product or service business can address these customers, that you can deliver a value proposition to them that otherwise is not being delivered by the current competitors in the field. And within that niche market, you can further say we're going to be the cost leader, or have some level of cost advantage in there, or we're going to in some way differentiate our product from the existing products that are targeting this market. And in that way, you find a segment or niche for your product or service business that allows it to be competitive in the market. So just as a recap, these are your overarching strategic orientations: cost, differentiation, or focus, that is in niche or target markets.